Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the DarkEnergy Core Rulebook. If you haven't seen part 1 of my review featuring this science fantasy role-playing game, where species and races from different realms and planes of existence are forced to interact with each other due to a scientific accident, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time I am going to give you more details about character creation. Let's talk about ability scores. 6 abilities provide a quick description of every creature's physical and mental characteristics. These are pretty self-explanatory and many of you know about them. They are Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. Is a character muscle-bound and insightful? Is that character brilliant and charming? Nimble and hardy? Ability scores define these qualities, a creature's assets as well as weaknesses. The 3 main roles of the game, the ability check, the saving throw, and the attack roll, rely on the 6 ability scores. You basically roll a 20-sided die, and you add an ability modifier derived from one of the 6 ability scores, and compare the total to a target number. This section of the book focuses on how to use ability checks and saving throws, covering the fundamental activities that creatures attempt in the game. Each of a creature's abilities has a score, a number that defines the magnitude of that ability. An ability score is not just a measure of innate capabilities, but also encompasses a creature's training and competence in activities related to that ability. All players start with a base ability score of 8 for all 6 abilities, before adding ability augments and subtracting ability failings. A score of 10 or 11 is the normal human average, but adventurers and many monsters are a cut above the average in most abilities. A score of 18 is the highest that a person usually reaches. Adventurers can have scores as high as 20, and monsters and divine beings can have scores as high as 30. Each ability also has a modifier. You have a table to determine this. Because ability modifiers affect almost every attack roll, ability check, and saving throw, ability modifiers come up in play more often than their associated scores. When it comes to ability drain, it actually reduces the relevant ability score. You modify all skills and statistics related to that ability. This might cause you to lose skill points, hit points, or other bonuses. Ability drain can be healed through the use of spells and with medical tools. Now, when it comes to proficiency bonus, characters have a proficiency bonus determined by level. Monsters also have this bonus, which is incorporated in their stat blocks. The bonus is used in the rules on ability checks, saving throws, and attack rolls. Your proficiency bonus can't be added to a single roll or other number more than once. Occasionally, your proficiency bonus might be multiplied or divided before you apply it. By the same token, if a feature or effect allows you to multiply your proficiency bonus when making an ability check that wouldn't normally benefit from your proficiency bonus, you still don't add the bonus to the check. In general, you don't multiply your proficiency bonus for attack rolls or saving throws. If a feature or effect allows you to do so, these same rules apply. When it comes to ability checks, for every ability check, the Game Master decides which of the 6 abilities is relevant to the task at hand and the difficulty of the task, represented by a difficulty class. The more difficult a task, the higher the difficulty class. To make an ability check, you roll a d20 and you add the relevant ability modifier. As with other d20 rolls, you apply bonuses and penalties, and then compare the total to the difficulty class. If the total equals or exceeds the difficulty class, the ability check is a success. Now, concerning flat checks, when the chance something will happen or fail to happen is based purely on chance, you'll attempt a flat check. A flat check never includes any modifiers, bonuses, or penalties. You just roll a d20 and compare the result on the die to the difficulty class. Only abilities that specifically apply to flat checks can change the check's difficulty class. Most such effects affect only certain types of flat checks. If more than one flat check would ever cause or prevent the same thing, just roll once and use the highest difficulty class. Now, concerning contests, Sometimes one character's or monster's efforts are directly opposed to another's. This can occur when both of them are trying to do the same thing and only one can succeed, such as attempting to snatch up a magic ring that has fallen on the floor. Both participants in a contest make ability checks appropriate to their efforts. The participant with the higher check total wins the contest. If the contest results in a tie, the situation remains the same as it was before the contest. When it comes to skills, each ability covers a broad range of capabilities, including skills that a character or a monster can be proficient in. A skill represents a specific aspect of an ability score, and an individual's proficiency in a skill demonstrates a focus on that aspect. And there is a variation here: skills with different abilities. Normally, your proficiency in a skill applies only to a specific kind of ability check. Proficiency in stealth, for example, usually applies to dexterity checks. In some situations, though, your proficiency might reasonably apply to a different kind of check. In such cases, the Game Master might ask for a check using an unusual combination of ability and skill. Or you might ask your Game Master if you can apply a proficiency to a different check. When it comes to passive checks, a passive check is a special kind of ability check that doesn't involve any die rolls. Such a check can represent the average result for a task done repeatedly, such as searching for secret doors over and over again, or can be used when a Game Master wants to secretly determine whether the characters succeed at something without rolling dice, such as noticing a hidden monster. When it comes to working together, sometimes two or more characters team up to attempt a task. The character who's leading the effort, or the one with the highest ability modifier, can make an ability check with advantage, reflecting the help provided by the other characters. In combat, this requires the help action. Now, this is easy to apply when a single character helps another one. But what happens when a group of characters helps another character, or they all try to accomplish something together? That's also quite easy. They all make ability checks, and if at least half of the group succeeds, the whole group succeeds. Just remember that every task that a character or a monster might attempt in the game is covered by one of the 6 abilities. So for example, in the case of strength, they apply to athletics, to attack rolls and damage, to carrying capacity. When it comes to dexterity, this affects athletics, drive, that is in the case of piloting a vehicle, sleight of hand, just to give you a few examples. When it comes to hiding, when you try to hide, you make a dexterity check, which counts as stealth, until you are discovered or you stop hiding. That check's total is contested by the wisdom or perception check of any creature that actively searches for signs of your presence. This could also affect attack rolls and damage when it comes to ranged attacks. This also affects your armor class and initiative. Constitution has to do with resisting things, and it also modifies your hit points. That is, if you are under some sort of strain or stress, or resisting the effect of some sort of toxic substance, this could apply. And this also affects your hit points as well. You get more hit points if you have a good constitution. Concerning intelligence, this affects checks such as arcana checks, computer use, demolitions, disable device. This also affects crafting skills, knowledge skills, and perhaps things related to forging a document or winning a game of skill. It all depends. Intelligence also affects your spellcasting ability. When it comes to wisdom, it reflects how attuned you are to the world around you, of course, so it has to do with things such as perception, animal handling, survival, treating injuries, and it also affects the spellcasting abilities of specific classes such as berserkers, druids, templars, etc. When it comes to charisma, it could affect your performance, your ability to persuade someone, to deceive someone, and it also affects the spellcasting abilities of certain classes such as instrumentalists and silver tongues. When it comes to saving throws, a saving throw, also called a save, represents an attempt to resist a spell, a trap, a poison, a disease, or a similar threat. You don't normally decide to make a saving throw. You are forced to make one because your character or monster is at risk of harm. That is, unlike checks which you undertake or undergo voluntarily, Saving throws are a natural reaction when you are affected by some sort of effect. Now concerning character size, a large character is between 8 and 16 feet tall and takes up more space than an average medium-sized character. This may cause problems when trying to fit through doorways or tunnels that were built for smaller creatures. And other things are affected by your size. You take up more space on the battlefield. Large characters can be used as mounts by small or smaller characters, assuming the large character allows it. A large creature is better at tactical blocking. It provides more cover for allies behind it, and foes need to move around the creature because it is so big. You also wield two-handed melee weapons with a single hand. That is, two-handed melee weapons built for medium-sized creatures, of course. Weapons and armor cost twice as much for large characters. Light weapons have disadvantage on attack rolls. They are so tiny. It would be like fighting with a very small pocket knife, perhaps. Large characters are also easier to hit, taking a penalty to their armor class. They deal more damage when it comes to their unarmed strikes. They have a disadvantage on stealth checks. Large creatures must use huge or larger creatures as mounts. When a large creature uses a weapon with the versatile trait, those weapons deal the damage given in parentheses, even if they are wielded in only one hand. And concerning cover, when a large creature uses cover, it is less effective and is downgraded by one level. Now, when it comes to smaller characters, they have a disadvantage using any weapon with the heavy tag. Small characters are harder to hit and gain a bonus to armor class. They get an advantage on stealth checks. They can use medium-sized creatures as mounts. In addition to that, a small creature can move through a hostile creature's space if it is two size categories larger than them. A small character is between 2 and 4 feet tall and takes up less space than the average medium-sized character. They can squeeze into smaller spaces and go unnoticed, where others would be spotted easily. Now concerning tiny characters, a tiny player character weighs so little that takes up so little space that it doesn't cause issues to hitch a ride in a sack, shoulder, or other position on another player character. However, the amount of coordination required to ensure you don't get in each other's way or jostle each other into losing actions makes this tactic unfavorable for most fellow adventurers during combat. If you're riding along with another player character or similar non-minion intelligent creature, roll both your initiatives and use the lower of the two results. You act in either order on the same initiative count. While traveling in this way, you each gain 2 actions at the start of your turn, instead of 3, since they spend 1 action keeping you balanced on their back, and you spend 1 action maintaining your grip. Your tiny character can enter another creature's space, which is important because your melee strikes typically have no reach, meaning you must enter your enemy's space to attack them. Like other tiny creatures, you don't automatically receive lesser cover from being in a larger creature's space, but circumstances might allow you to take cover. You can purchase weapons, armor, and other items for your size with the same statistics as normal gear, except that melee weapons have a reach of 0 for you, or a reach 5 feet shorter than normal if they have the reach trait. When it comes to appearance, your character's appearance is largely up to you. Each race and species has an average height, weight, and age range associated with them. But for their hair color, skin tone, eyes, and general appearance, that is for you to decide. Concerning your age, your character's age must be at least the minimum adult age for the character's race and class. With age, a character's physical ability scores decrease and his mental ability scores increase. The effects of each aging step are cumulative. However, none of a character's ability scores can be reduced below 1 in this way. A character who reaches their maximum age dies of old age sometime during the following year. Usually, the maximum ages are for player characters. Most people in the world at large die from pestilence, accidents, infections, or violence before getting to venerable age. To determine a character's height and weight, you verify a table. This will give you an average height and weight for your character's race and gender. You choose the height and weight of your character, but you cannot go below the minimum size or weight, or above the maximum for your character's size category. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to take a look at races. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. As you can see, this is pretty recognizable from other 5th edition systems. That is, if you know how to play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition or any other related systems, this is quite common. Although, when you check out the tables of the average height and weight, you will see that the races and species contained in this rulebook are pretty much beyond the average in many fantasy role-playing games. And when it comes to the mechanical aspect of the game, it's pretty streamlined, very easy to understand, like any other 5th edition based system. So that's perfect for this sort of high fantasy or high science fantasy style of gameplay. So once again, thank you, and thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you and see you later.